But a few hours later, none of this mattered. Natalie was returning to her hometown without a clue of what had happened there. As she led Liam out of the airport, she bumped into Cheryl and Nick, who had come to pick her up, and the fog started to lift.
Hey, Natalie!
Cheryl held Nick's hand and smiled, leaning on his shoulder. Natalie thought that she no longer felt anything for them. But after seeing this, the hatred in her heart skyrocketed. Her stepsister and her ex-fiancé were getting married.
Mister, you forgot your wallet.
Did it fell out? Or maybe you pulled it out?
Before Nick and Cheryl could humiliate them further, Natalie jumped in to say that Liam was her son. Their shock was evident. Cheryl had countless questions in her mind. She hadn't even heard that Natalie was married. So where had he come from?
Wait. Don't tell me you gave birth after you cheated on Nick.
The moment she finished speaking, Nick, who had been standing beside his fiancée without saying anything, called Liam illegitimate. Natalie almost couldn't believe that this man standing in front of her, calling her son illegitimate, was the same person she had loved back then. After 9 years, she had discovered that their relationship was only worth this much. The slap was loud and clear.
If you say that again, you'll get a second one. It goes for you too. Fraud.
Cheryl's face turned red on being called a fraud.
How dare you? Do you think that because you're a woman, I won't do anything to you?
Don't touch my mom!
Nick was already furious, but now his rage increased. Liam tried to push Nick away, but he was too small. But Bryce had seen what was happening, and he could not stop himself.
Darling, there are you. I've been looking for you everywhere. I was getting worried.
Dad!
When Liam saw Bryce, he hugged him excitedly. Natalie hadn't expected the man who had been so rude to her to actually help her. When Liam said daddy, both Nick and Cheryl froze. They had thought Liam was illegitimate, the son of Natalie and that other man. They hadn't expected her to actually find a man abroad, let alone one who looked rich and important. The two of them looked at each other and were suddenly at a loss for words. Natalie didn't know why he was helping her, but she took his cue and grabbed his arm. Nick gritted his teeth as he watched Natalie grab the man's arm and get into his car. It was too much for him to bear. Cheryl stood at his side, her face filled with undisguised jealousy as she looked at the man's car. She was extremely angry. How had Natalie gotten involved with such a man? Bryce stared out of the window with a cold expression. He seemed to be deep in thought until he heard Natalie's words.
Thanks for your help.
I just don't like what those two were saying, that's all.
Liam, who was sitting next to her, once again thanked his daddy for helping them out. Natalie shushed him. She didn't know why he believed this man was his father, nor did she know how to explain Bryce's actions. She explained to Liam that this man had only stepped in to stop those mean people from bullying them. But Liam wasn't backing down.
To have a baby with a woman, at least she needs to be attractive.
These words stabbed Natalie's sore spot, and her expression hardened. She had been grateful to him for saving her, but now it seemed there was no difference between him and Nick.
Stop the car. Stop the car, please.
She didn't want to say anything else. Bryce looked at her in confusion. When the car stopped, she got out, removed their luggage, took $100 from her wallet, and threw it on the car seat.
It's for the taxi. Thank you for your help. I hope I never see you again.
She took Liam's hand. after getting out of Bryce's car. Instead, she took a cab to another place.
Natalie.
Granny.
Natalie quickly stepped forward to hug her granny. Her heart warmed and her eyes filled with tears.
How much suffering have you endured while you've been away?
Hello, I'm Liam.
Her grandmother was the closest person in the world to her. Naturally, she was overjoyed to see her precious granddaughter and delighted to meet Liam. She doted on him, wishing that she could keep him locked up in her heart. After a really long time, Natalie was able to breathe freely in a safe space. Having experienced so many things in her own life, Natalie's granny knew what to ask and what not to ask. And since her granddaughter didn't seem to want to talk about it, she didn't ask about the child or who his father was. Natalie stayed at her grandma's for the night. She was happy to come back to the place she had spent her childhood in. After a long time, she didn't feel alone in this world. She felt good here, and nothing could destroy this euphoria. Nothing except...
Hello again, sis. I knew this was the place to look for you.
I don't think we have anything else to talk about. Please, don't bother me, okay?
Wait. We didn't really want to come here.
Yeah, Daddy asked us to come. He wants to see you right away.
She didn't want to have anything to do with her family anymore, but she still hadn't made this clear, so she needed to talk to her father face to face.
Liam!
On the way to the family mansion, none of them said a word. It was clear that Cheryl hadn't come here on her own initiative. She still deeply hated Natalie and didn't want to see her. The car soon arrived at the family home. Natalie saw that the yard was pretty much the same as it had been when she left, but the situation was different now. She could no longer face these people with a calm demeanor as she had before. As soon as she stepped into the house, her stepmother came hurrying over, putting on a warm and gentle expression.
How was the flight? Are you hungry?
I know you don't like me, so you shouldn't act like you do.
Is that a way to talk to him, Mother?
Tom's sullen voice came from the living room. For the past 9 years, they hadn't cared about her in the least, but now they were showing all this enthusiasm.
I've sent you out of the country to think about your behavior. Instead, you've brought some strange kid here.
Hello, I'm Liam.
I will never accept him as the part of the Davidson family.
Tom was breathing heavily, and Cheryl found the perfect opportunity to instigate him.
Daddy, don't be so angry. This child, it's not his fault. Besides, he's your grandson.
Don't you dare call him that.
She purposely emphasized the word grandson because she knew this would make Tom even angrier. No one knew what it had been like for Natalie to be exiled abroad. She had been so poor before Liam was born that she sometimes had no money to eat and nowhere to sleep. She had suffered all sorts of hardships, but no one had called her to ask if she was doing okay. And now they had the audacity to reject her son.
Liam is my son, and I don't care if you accept him or not. I only came back here for the engagement party, and I'll be leaving as soon as it's over.
She had worked hard to rise up as a fighter. She had stopped caring what other people thought of her. Natalie was expressionless as she looked at her family. The bitterness in her chest bubbled up, but she forced it back down. She had thought her father might react like this, but when she saw it in person, she couldn't help but feel pain. She had no feelings about all this but disgust, so she casually agreed and then turned around and left with Liam. She left the home that she had lived in for 20 years without a shred of nostalgia. But on the way out, she was stopped.
Natalie, please wait.
What? What do you want from me? Did you come here to insult me even more?
All this while, Nick hadn't taken his eyes off Liam. He was clearly affected seeing Natalie in the arms of another man yesterday. After all, they had been together for many years before Nick decided to call off the wedding. He still somewhere had feelings for her.
I just want to ask you something. Okay?